You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Haristadoulou.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. A happy Tuesday to you all. I am Ethan Haristadoulou, and today, as we continue to inch closer and closer to the start of the 2025 regular season in the NFL, we're diving into top 10 rankings for the running back position in the NFL. So as always, I invite you all to comment down below. Let me hear from you. How would you rank your top 10 running backs? Do you agree or disagree with my list? Even if you're not giving me a 10, give me a 5, give me a top 3. Top 3 feels a little easy. So maybe a 5, maybe an 8, something like that. But let me hear from you all. This is a tough list, I've got to say, from the amount of time I spent flipping guys around and trying to rationalize why I had everyone where I had them. This was a list that started out pretty easy at the top, and then by the time I got to 5, and with the conversations I had with other people, I was like, wow, this could really be in just about any order from like 5 or 6 onward, and you could make a really strong case and argument for a lot of these backs within that like top 8 to 9, 10, like 11 and 12 range as well. So real quick, we'll do honorable mentions. So like people that are 11 through 14, because I have 4 guys I needed to make sure I at least mentioned going into this list who received a ton of consideration. And that's going to be Arizona running back James Conner, New York Jets running back Breece Hall, Miami running back Devon Achane, and Carolina running back Chuba Hubbard. I think all 4 of those guys in their situations can state a case for being amongst some of the best running backs in the NFL. Breece Hall had a bit of a down year considering how good the year was prior for him. And then you look at a guy like a Devon Achane who has not had like that true running back one role on the Miami Dolphins offense, but has put up ridiculous numbers both as a runner and as a receiver in the limited opportunity he gets in that sort of committee backfield that he works out of. I mean, those 2 guys alone. But then, of course, James Conner, the ageless, who since going to Arizona and even during some of the darker periods of these last few years within Arizona and what they've had going on offensively as well because of injuries to Kyler Murray and what have you, he has consistently just been so productive, so reliable for that team, and he needs to get some love. And then Chuba Hubbard, who in the last couple of seasons has really come on strong, last season really picking things up in a situation where you had your starting quarterback benched for a portion of the season and then come back. But for him, it was a consistently strong season, both on the ground and even being able to catch some passes here and there as well. So I had to make sure I gave some love to those guys before we actually dove into the top 10. But let me know, any of those guys, should they have been here towards the bottom of the list? But at number 10 to start things off, and this one for me personally hurts. Grew up a Colts fan. I still root for them now, but it's not like I ride and die for my team. I won't sit here and act like I'm a diehard these days. But Jonathan Taylor, man. This pains me to have him here at number 10 because even like last season going into the year, you could find me somewhere probably banging the table about how he's a top 5 back in the NFL. And I think just in terms of like talent and what he brings to the table for the football game itself, I think there's probably still a case for that. However, the biggest issue for me right now has got to be the fact that he cannot stay on the football field, and the best ability is availability in the sport of American football. And I mean, the numbers themselves, finishing 4th in the NFL in rushing yards. He had 11 rushing touchdowns, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. This is all done in just 14 games, and he only started in 13 of them. Like, the injury issues, though, are what really have me concerned. He has not played a full season since 2021, and that type of issue typically does not get better as time goes on. Now, am I going to sit here and act like he couldn't maybe flip the switch this year, complete full 17-game slate, doesn't have an issue, and he runs his way to a near rushing title or just ends up being one of the top backs in the NFL again? Absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not possible, but to this point, it's just been slight dips and drop-offs here and there production-wise of the last few seasons, and he has just not been able to quite recapture that magic that he had a few seasons ago when he was fully healthy. If he can stay healthy on the football field in just like pure talent alone, Jonathan Taylor's up there with the best of them, but he's got to stay healthy. And if he's not on the football field to put up those numbers, you have to hold that against him. And again, it's something that just only gets worse as time goes on. But thankfully, he's still young enough that he still has plenty of time to maybe turn that ship around, maybe get healthy and not have those issues going forward. But again, it's just one of those things that never really seems to get better and only get worse as wear and tear continues to mount on especially the running back position. So I hold him at 10 for now. If you think he should be a little bit higher, I completely get it. The Colts fan in me wants to have him higher in this list, but I wanted to make sure I was also being fairly critical of the flaws. Moving into number 9, though, this is where things got really tricky for me. I settled on Minnesota's Aaron Jones, and I love the story of Aaron Jones from last season because he's coming into Kevin O'Connell's system with Sam Darnold as the quarterback, and no one really knew what exactly you were going to get out of Minnesota last season with Sam Darnold taking over and obviously Kirk Cousins departing during free agency. The one thing we did know about Aaron Jones prior to last season was that he's consistently been a dual threat running back. He is one of the best running, receiving running backs I think the NFL has seen just overall in some time. And he's always been healthy. He's always been able to play full slates of seasons. And last season, obviously, a bit of an issue the year prior going into his season with Minnesota, had a little bit of an injury bug. Ultimately, Green Bay decided to move on from him, wanting to, get rid of a guy sooner rather than later kind of thing. Ends up playing in all 17 games, finished last season 9th in rushing yards, finished 7th in receiving yards. Aaron Jones was the perfect running back to bring into a system that was bringing in a new quarterback that was young and trying to resalvage his career in Sam Darnold, and he was the perfect complement for what they were doing. Now we step forward a year, going into J.J. McCarthy's technical second year as a veteran in the NFL, but it'll be his essentially on-field rookie season. He's stepping in as quarterback 1, and Aaron Jones is going to make his life all that much easier. I expect to see McCarthy look his way plenty of times, whether it's in the passing game or if he's just handing the football off to him on any given moment here. Aaron Jones probably still has another good 2 or 3 really strong seasons in him with the way he's able to play and the way because he's not just a running back. He can catch. He's like half a receiver more often than not with what he's able to do coming out of the backfield or even just lining up in different parts of the field. This is the perfect type of back you want to have in this offense. And considering the situation that he's going into this year with a really young, inexperienced quarterback, the ball is going to be going his way. He's going to have plenty of opportunity to put up numbers. So love Aaron Jones in the situation that he's in. His game has always been a really fun one to watch. He's always been uber productive, and I don't really see that changing going into this 2025 season, barring some catastrophic issue. Going on to number 9, I don't even know how do I even phrase this, just bursting onto the scene, I guess you could say, blowing everybody's expectations away and then some. Bucky Irving, man, gotta give it to him at the number 8 spot here. The talk around the NFL right now as it currently stands with Tampa Bay seems to be the wide receiver room, Baker Mayfield, what this team could potentially be able to do if Emeka Egbuka comes along as quickly as everyone seems to be saying he is in Tampa Bay. You have a really scary trio of wide receivers over there once Chris Godwin is fully healthy and ready to go. But that being said, I am excited to see Bucky Irving and what he can do this season as the true lead back of that running back room, because it wasn't Bucky Irving's show last season. He came in, he filled in, he got a ton of snaps, don't get me wrong. It got to the point where he and Rachaad White were splitting snaps, and even Bucky was overtaking snaps at certain portions of the season. But going into last year, it was still Rachaad White's running back room, and ultimately Bucky Irving took over with how explosive his play was. But when you look at the numbers that he had in the limited opportunities that he had on top of that, he was one of only 5 running backs that were qualified per NFL Pro to surpass the 5-yard per carry average last season. The only other guys that did that, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then I believe Jordan Mason was the other guy as well. So a pretty awesome group of running backs to be associated with, all things considered, when you're not running back 1 of your offense, you were splitting carries with another guy. This is one of those things where if he's going to be the lead back and he's going to really take over and he's going to be crossing that 300 touch threshold coming out of the backfield, whether that's between receptions and carries or if it's going to be more carries than receptions, whatever the split of that number ends up being, this is a guy who has so much potential and he's got that boom mentality in his game. I cannot wait to see what Bucky Irving does. Again, the talk of the town for Tampa Bay around the league, at least. I'm not saying Tampa Bay specifically, but just from the outside looking in, I hear so much about just the wide receiver room. Emeka Egbuka, can't wait till Chris Godwin is back. Another 1,000-yard season for Mike Evans. That conversation is strong around the NFL, but if in Tampa Bay, I would have to imagine they're probably really excited to see what this running back room can do as well. And like, I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy, so like the sky is the limit with this offense and the way things are shaping up this year. I'm hoping for an extremely healthy season for Tampa Bay, because this could be one of the more impressive offenses we've seen in some time. Going into number 7, this was another one that I juggled with a lot because I'm a really big fan of his game, and that's going to be Los Angeles Rams running back Kyren Williams, Kyren's one of those guys that I don't think he really gets the love that he deserves, because being in LA, there's been a lot of attention on a lot of different guys on that team overall. Obviously, Aaron Donald a few years. Like, when you would think of like the stars for that team over the last handful of seasons, it's been on the offense, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham was there for a little bit. On the defensive side, you had Aaron Donald, who was just the big name on the defensive line. Jalen Ramsey was there for a while. So like, he's a star who's on a star-studded team consistently year over year, and being an LA team, there's going to be so much coverage, and a lot of the flashy positions are going to get that opportunity to shine there. And Kyren's just one of those guys over these last couple of seasons who has put together some phenomenal seasons, especially last year, considering how bumpy things got offensively for the Rams during the first like half of the season. Things got a lot smoother and a lot better as everyone started to get healthy by the midpoint of the year. But I mean, you look at his totals from the last couple of seasons, 26 total rushing touchdowns between last year and the year prior, crossing the 1,000-yard mark both of those seasons. I think the number might have dipped down a little bit this past year, but overall extremely productive as well. He's able to catch passes out of the backfield. I mean, if it was not for like a little bit of a rough stretch, and then like I should air quotes for those of you that might just be listening, a tougher stretch from like week 8 to 11 where he didn't get into the end zone as far as running the football was concerned, those numbers could have been even inflated further than what he was able to put up last season on the ground. But I mean, as far as yardage was going, he was still able to move the ball. He just wasn't finding the end zone specifically. One of the only things you could really say is like his yards per attempt is the lowest one that's on this list here. So like efficiency, maybe not as high as some of the other guys that I have on this list here, but I mean, nearly 400 receiving yards and another 5 touchdowns through the air over the last couple of seasons as well. Like, he's an integral part of what this Rams offense does. And this is a guy that, for me, I love watching him play. I love his game, and I love kind of the underdog air that's around him, because like, you think best backs in the league, and I don't hear a lot of people say Kyren Williams. They're always, doubling off to other guys, and I get it. Plenty of talented backs in the league. Kyren Williams, though, absolutely deserves those flowers. Wrapping up the bottom half of the league, at number 6, Buffalo, you got to pay the man. James Cook, someone who, in my eyes, has earned every single penny and then some that's going to be coming his way once that contract is finally signed, sealed, and delivered. His hold in is finally ending, or at least it sounds like it's going to be ending. So, for me, them getting a guy like James Cook, who is absolutely dual threat running back. And there's kind of a recurring theme here if you've already listened to me kind of talk about these guys. Like, I like running backs that, of course, can run the football and pound the rock with the best of them, but I need you in today's passing-based game of NFL football to be able to catch the ball, whether it's out of the backfield, whether you're lining up in the slot or out wide, wherever they need you to go. I need running backs that can also catch the football. It's just, the game is just, it's gone beyond just the pound the rock style of running backs. Like, you need to be able to do both, and you'll notice that everybody in this list can basically do that. Fits the bill of that dual threat running back style, but his 16 rushing touchdowns came on a wildly low, just 207 rushing attempts. Now, to help you understand how crazy that is in comparison to the rest of the league, everyone else who had 13 or more rushing touchdowns last season all had 300 attempts or more. The only exception to that was Jahmyr Gibbs, and he was still at 250. So basically like another 50 or so carries more, or about 40, I guess you could say, if you're rounding the number correctly, to where Jahmyr Gibbs was. But I mean, it's just unbelievable, the productivity, despite the lack of actual rushing attempts that he was getting last season. And of course, he's blessed with the fact that he plays in an offense that has a quarterback like a Josh Allen, who does himself pick up a ton of carries, a ton of yards, a ton of rushing touchdowns on top of that. So while it's a benefit, it's also like a detriment to his statistic totals, because yes, Josh Allen maybe opens things up for James Cook's game because he's such a threat in his own right, but he also steals a ton of the numbers from him. And I've heard people who love James Cook in fantasy who are like, if you don't have Josh Allen and you have James Cook, you're praying that Josh Allen's not taking off and stealing one of your rushing touchdowns on this upcoming drive kind of thing. So, like, I love what he's able to do. He's only 4 years in his very young career, and this Bills offense, the way it's continuing to evolve right now, I think things are just going to continue to open up further, and I think we're in store for a really strong season. I'm hoping that the hold-in thing doesn't really affect his on-field performance, and if it does, maybe it's just like a week or two to really knock off the rust before he gets rocking and rolling, but just another one of those guys that at the stage he's in his career, nothing tells me that things are going to slow down, and he should be just as effective, if not potentially even more. Now, moving into the top half of this list, I feel like there is a combination of these five in a few different ways that you could go, and I'd probably agree with you and say that depending on the day, my opinion on this might even change itself. But I do think that this list of five is non-negotiable. So, like, these five guys in this list, the order definitely up for the debate. At number 5, though, I'm going to settle on Josh Jacobs here. One of the more hard-nosed style running backs in the NFL right now. He'll absolutely whoop a defense between the tackles, and it shows in the numbers that he's put up. According to Next Gen Stats, nobody ran for more yards at 893 or more rushing touchdowns at 10 than Josh Jacobs did, specifically within runs going between the tackles against all other running backs. And he finished last season with 15 total rushing touchdowns on the ground. He had a receiving touchdown as well. He blends that extremely well with that ability to catch the football. I mean, he has over 233 career receptions. Josh Jacobs is like a mauler with the football in his hands, and when you look at just how effective he is when he gets the football, yeah, he had that one down season with Las Vegas before departing, but it was clearly just like a one-year thing because he bounced right back this year in Green Bay. And I think it's important to note that while, yes, he's a talented back and the numbers he put up, exceptional, this is also in spite of the fact that Green Bay, for stretches of last season, had some really big struggles in the passing game. If you all remember, for those of you who maybe aren't Green Bay fans and maybe forgot, Jordan Love missed some time. There was a time when Malik Willis was in there, and you obviously had to lean very heavily on Josh Jacobs. And even when Jordan Love came back, and I'm kind of in this camp in Jordan Love's defense where I don't think he was given enough time before coming back, and I feel like that ankle injury that he dealt with maybe lingered a lot longer into the season that the team and Jordan Love would have been willing to let on. So I think that if you can get more of the passing game we saw from Green Bay in 2023, you get that version of Jordan Love, which is obviously what I think everyone was hoping for going into last season. If you get that version of Jordan Love throwing the football, things will only open up even further for Josh Jacobs, who only averaged in air quotes again, modest 4.4 yards per attempt on the ground running the football, but he also averaged his highest career yards per reception average at 9.5. You want to talk about efficiency catching the football for him. This is one of those guys that the ceiling it's there, but it could go even further because you didn't get the best version of the passing attack to really help him out. Like, a lot of teams were keying in on Josh Jacobs because of some of the issues that Green Bay was dealing with passing the ball. You add the addition of Matthew Golden and what a lot of these younger guys are going to have and even more experience in this system. Green Bay's offense is another one of those units that could be extremely good, and a lot of it being carried on the back of a bell cow back, who's somebody who is good for 300 or more rushing attempts basically any season he's healthy, in Josh Jacobs. Coming in at the number 4 spot, if you were to go into a lab and design a running back and you wanted all the traits, whether it's the physicals, the size, the speed, the athleticism, all that stuff, and you wanted to put all that together and package it up at 6 feet, 214 pounds, blazing speed, that nice, strong balance that you need when things get a little bit wonky running with the football, good hands, can catch out of the backfield, could line up out wide for you if you need him to. Bijan Robinson's that prototype back. All of it, the size, the speed, the athleticism combo, the physical traits you just can't teach, they all are plugged right into what Bijan Robinson is as a running back. And last season, we got the true form of Bijan Robinson, the one that everyone was anticipating of seeing his rookie season, at 1,456 yards rushing with 14 touchdowns on the ground to go along with it. That was the Bijan Robinson everyone was anticipating and waiting for his rookie season, and we got him in year number 2. And I think things could only push even further as Michael Penix continues to get more and more comfortable in this offensive system, as you would assume he would, and things really start to open up. Because a lot of offenses, when things were getting really bad with Kirk Cousins, and then of course you go and you bring in your rookie quarterback, you know the running back is going to be the guy that they go to bail out the rookie, or they lean on because your veteran quarterback was struggling in Kirk Cousins before you ultimately went to bench him. Like, a lot got put on Bijan Robinson's shoulders last year, and he racked up another 400 yards through the air. Maybe touchdowns were a little bit lower catching. He only had 1 to the 4 in the 2023 season, but I mean, he is a do-it-all running back who has a fantastic Robin in Tyler Algier as well. If Penix gets more comfortable, the passing game starts to open up. If this is the season of Kyle Pitts finally, and we start to see him start to thrive over the middle, those holes that are typically maybe a little bit more plugged up because there's maybe a guy or two in those running lanes that wouldn't typically be, because now they're having to drop back and defend over the middle a little bit further back than they'd want to be, because you can't account for Bijan Robinson now, because maybe you're going after Kyle Pitts or Drake London or Darnell Mooney, whoever it is going up across the middle of the field, whatever it may be, but things are starting to open up more. We have not seen the best of Bijan Robinson. And what we saw from Bijan Robinson last year was pretty awesome, totaling nearly 2,000 total yards from scrimmage. This is going to be a really fun season for Atlanta, at least as far as Bijan Robinson is concerned. And if we can get just, again, a solid season, so it doesn't even have to be above average. If we just get a solid season of play from Michael Penix, look out. Atlanta's offense could be very fun this year. It all comes down to that quarterback and how he handles everything. But if you just get even a solid season from him, there's way too much talent surrounding Robinson and Penix himself for there to not be some explosive plays coming out of that offense. Moving into number 3. And this is where I'll be curious to see where everyone sorts this out, because, again, depending on who you like more, I could see the argument for who should be above who here. But at number 3 for me, I settled on Detroit's Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't quite know if anyone else in the NFL runs with quite the intensity that Jahmyr Gibbs does. Like, that's one of those things you can't really quantify, but you see it in the tape and as he moves on the football field. He is like a true embodiment of what Dan Campbell wants in his football team. Like, if you had to ask him, give me a player who embodies your team, Jahmyr Gibbs. Tough as hell, unbelievable athleticism, and will just keep fighting. Literally dubbed Sonic in the duo between he and David Montgomery, who call themselves Sonic and Knuckles. That's one of the coolest nicknames as growing up a gaming nerd myself. Love those kinds of nicknames. So to see a guy get dubbed something like that is not something I thought I'd ever see in the NFL. So being the Sonic of that duo and Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit, listen, the craziest part about Jahmyr Gibbs, and we kind of touched on his rushing attempts earlier when we were talking about, I believe it was Bucky Irving. The craziest part about his numbers, the rushing attempts, only 250, 1,412 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns, averaging a whopping 5.6 yards per attempt. That's essentially a first down every 2 runs. No fumbles. Not even not fumbles lost, just no fumbles. Ball did not hit the ground, according to Next Gen Stats. Took care of the ball all season long. I didn't see all 250 of his rushing attempts, but I'll take Next Gen Stats' word for it. You add in the extra 500 yards he caught just through the air as well, with the 3 receiving touchdowns he had. This will be a good test for Jahmyr Gibbs this season. He has shown that steady progression year over year in these first couple of seasons that he's had. The numbers were impressive, not last season, but the year prior, and then just got ridiculous last season. Some changes along the offensive line. Obviously, a new offensive coordinator in the mix as well. Definitely one keeping an eye on, or worth keeping an eye on, but you watch Jahmyr Gibbs play, and you know there's something special about his game. And again, 5.6 yards per attempt. If it wasn't for Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley's ridiculous total averages that they had last season, that's a crazy number to sit here and talk about. And the fact that as I continue to go up this list, a number like that gets even crazier. He had a special season in a year that looks less special because the guys that were more special than he were just decided to be complete aliens at the position. So Love what Jahmyr Gibbs brings to the table, and Detroit's got a good 2, 3, 4 more years, I would believe, at minimum, of some serious high-end play coming out of that backfield as long as Jahmyr Gibbs is on that roster. And I would hope that they have no plans of letting him go. Coming in at number 2, I decided to settle on Derrick Henry here, and I did a lot of juggling with this because I'm a huge Derrick Henry fan. Huge Derrick Henry fan. Don't get me wrong, the guy I have above him, pretty sure it's obvious who it's going to be, and I love his game, but Derrick Henry, he's called the king for the reason. He has become the perfect complement for Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore Ravens offense, the way everyone was hoping that he would. He helped unlock one of, if not the most impressive Ravens offenses we might have ever seen, period, for Baltimore. The numbers, like I said, are just absolutely ridiculous and make literally zero sense in what is supposed to be a pass-centric NFL these days. 5.9 yards per attempt, 0.1 away from averaging 6 yards every time he touched the football coming out of the backfield. He had 20 carries less than Saquon Barkley, and his yards per attempt was higher than Barkley. So if he carried the rock 20 more times and finished with the same amount of attempts and kept averaging that number, he finishes the season with more yards than Saquon Barkley does. 16 rushing touchdowns and 1,921 yards. He was this close to eclipsing the 2K mark again in his career. He also caught 19 passes, a couple hundred yards, a couple of touchdowns, and it's not like that's not a part of his game. Like I talk about, I love dual threat running backs. Some people might think of Derrick Henry and they just think this bulldozer that's coming out of the backfield, but it's not like he can't catch the football. His last 2 seasons in Tennessee, he caught 61 passes for over 600 yards. So it's he can catch the ball if you actually need him to. It's just the way and the style that the offense is run, or the way the offense is handled in Baltimore. It wasn't as necessary for him to be catching passes out of the backfield for them, but he can catch the football if you need him to. It feels like every season the question kind of comes up is just can Derrick Henry continue to keep doing what he's doing at the size he's doing at and at the dominating level that he's doing it at? And at this point, I'm kind of in the position with Derrick Henry where you'd think he'd start slowing down by now because he has such a physical style of play that you would probably just go, yeah, this is probably the season. I'm done doing that, because there was a piece of me 2 years ago that kind of felt like maybe we were getting to that end of the road of the elite level of dominance we were seeing. And I'm kind of now just riding the roller coaster and letting it and just going on whatever wild ride it actually is. Because the way Derrick Henry plays does not feel like he should be able to still play at this level at this stage in his career, but he continues to defy just everything. Again, you want to talk about aliens at their position. Derrick Henry is one of those aliens. That's why he is number 2 in this list. And the only reason he's not at number 1 is because the guy in front of him, Saquon Barkley, that I have at the top of this list, is also an alien. And it starts and ends with the 2,283 total yards of offense he put up in just 16 games last season. Saquon was supposed to be good for Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. Everyone was hyped about it. I was excited about it. Everyone talked about the badass O-line and how Saquon Barkley was going to be set up in an offense that was the most talented he's ever been in. And we've seen some really good years from Saquon where this was going to be a really good opportunity to have a career season. And I don't think a soul thought we were going to see 2,000 yards in 16 games again. After, I think, what was the last person that did it? Was it Derrick Henry? And that was a while ago. I mean, almost a decade ago when that happened, if I'm remembering correctly when that was. So I don't really think anyone thought, yeah, we're going to get another one of those seasons anytime soon, especially because the NFL has kind of phased away from lead single backs. It's typically a committee thing. And then obviously here comes, Barkley and Derrick Henry just doing their thing. One hitting 2,000, the other one nearly eclipsing 2,000 yards as the lead back, the one every down back you have that you can roll with. But averaging 5.8 yards per carry, second best in the NFL, only to Derrick Henry, the aforementioned. One of only 2 running backs reaching over 500 yards rushing over expected, Derrick Henry being the other guy. Last year was the culmination of the talent that we knew Saquon Barkley had, but was put in that absolute best position possible. And I think the question really now about Saquon is just how close does he get to this past season in this upcoming season? Because offensively, yeah, a change what is the right guard spot. Mekhi Becton's not there anymore, so you have a change along the offensive line. And also, I believe Landon Dickerson went down with something, and it sounds like it wasn't as serious as initially feared, but I think but it sounds like he might miss some time. So like the O-line is definitely something worth watching, but it's not like the litany of talent that offense has is like a cumulative whole is gone. Like you still have elite wide receivers that teams have to deal with. You still have one of the better tight ends in the NFL in Dallas Goedert. There's not really a lot that has me too worried about attention being drawn elsewhere where Saquon Barkley isn't still going to torch teams. And I mean, what are we looking at? I would assume we're still going to see double-digit touchdowns, whether you want to say rushing or just total in general. It's probably going to go for another 14, 15, 1,600 yards. Like I think that was probably the more like realistic thought everyone had was Barkley's going to have a strong season, probably goes like 15, 1,600 yards. Like that would be career season right there for you. No, but he went 2,000 instead. I don't expect that again because that would just be a lot to repeat. But there is a piece of me deep down inside that really would love to see that. So I kind of hope I'm wrong there. Like I'm expecting a good season, another really good season, not quite that level. But listen, if we see it again, I'm not going to be mad. So Saquon Barkley tops the list of running backs for me, but that is my top 10 in the NFL. Again, there's a lot of discussion as far as the running back position goes. I think you can make really good cases for a number of these guys and where they should be, and the order of mine you probably don't agree with, and I won't be surprised. So let me know what you think. How would you organize them? Let me know why. Fire away in that comment section down below, but as always, if you made it to the end, greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.